Welcome to year 2 of A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by 4-time Emmy-nominated producer
Frank Pace. And retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, actress on the George Lopez sitcom and the film Selena, Constance Marie.
My brother Frank. Did you hear what he said in the background? He's not going to play?
What did he say?
He said, "This is your legacy, Billy. This is your legacy." To all my fan out there.
I'm in a good mood today.
You're in a good mood?
What? I'm in a good mood today.
Let me have some switch cups with me, will you? Because you weren't in a good mood 5 minutes ago. Switch cups with me. What do you got in there?
I got Boyben.
Boyben.
Oh,
I love Boyben. That was my brother's poison, Boyben.
Was it?
I was a Scotch guy. Always Scotch.
Yeah.
Scotch.
Oh, you like? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
no,
please.
Tom. Mr. Harris, Mr. Derek Harris.
Derek Harris, third man in the
I'm off
booth.
camera though.
Third man in the booth. I need to. No.
So what's the deal with Scotch? You don't think Scotch is a
No, I it's my favorite. I think it's the best.
I think it's the best too. I love Scotch. But you know what? Irish whiskey, though, a lot to be said for Irish whiskey. If you're drinking whiskey straight, it's very smooth. It's really good. And not just because I'm Irish.
They all taste like kerosene.
I disagree.
They all taste like kerosene to me.
Yeah. But I loved it all, man. I loved the whites, the browns, the umbrella drinks.
But we're talking about alcohol now. We're not talking about people. The whites, the browns. You love them all.
Yeah, I love them all. The whites, the browns. And listen, I'm not prejudiced. I love all people from Ireland. I love people from Cork, people from Kerry, people from Dublin. I like them all, Frank.
Yeah.
No, I like all booze. I did. I always liked all booze. Speaking of which, before we go on, Constance Marie is our guest today, a very talented actress who I've known for years. yeah, she's done so much work. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
So
Great body. of
we'll
work.
get to her in about 5 or 10 minutes.
I went to the store the other day to buy something.
Yeah.
Grapes.
Grapes.
I go up to the counter. Frank, I ain't tight. I mean, I used to throw $500 on a number in a crap game. I wouldn't even think about it. Put $1,000 on a football game. Of course, when you get older, you get a little more frugal. Granted. I mean, I get that. But I went to buy grapes. The guy says to me, $7.95. I said, $7.95 for grapes? I said, what, I break a window? What are you fucking kidding me? $7.95. I didn't know whether to eat them or to chop them up and snort them. I mean, it's crazy. The prices of shit is nuts.
When I was a kid, my grandfather used to have a vineyard in the backyard.
Oh, legit.
And he grew on the vineyard those purple grapes, those deep purple grapes, and we would just walk in and eat them off the.
But he wasn't really it was his backyard. It wasn't like a vineyard. He didn't
It wasn't a vineyard. It was just the backyard. It was like
it was just an old guinea grown grapes.
Exactly. It was a U.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like a third of the size of this room.
That's pretty common in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think he was from?
No, I that's what I'm saying. But he made it seem like it was such an anomaly.
Well, where do you think he's from?
Well, this was when he was in New York. This is when he was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had his little garden and he grew grapes.
Yep.
Did he make his own wine?
Yes, he did.
And I bet it was amazing.
And my dad made his own wine too. My dad used to make his own wine out of dandelions.
Oh.
He would make
dandelion wine.
wine.
I've heard of that.
Yep.
I bet it was delicious.
Well, it tasted like kerosene to me because all alcohol tastes like kerosene to me.
I know. You just don't like booze.
That we talk about the price of living. It's so expensive today. I don't know how my daughter and my son-in-law make it.
It would be all right. The salaries commensurate, go up accordingly with the price of living. That'd be okay. I would imagine.
Yeah,
inflation. Look, the Democrats are going to pay the price for inflation.
Well, let's not keep. It has nothing to do with Republicans.
Politics.
It has nothing to do with politics.
Just cost of inflation.
The
Cost
of inflation
I'm with you.
is going up. I mean, when I was a kid, the Daily News used to cost 3 cents. Then it went up to 4 cents, and then it went up to 5 cents.
I remember it as a
Then
nickel.
it gradually went to a dime and 15 cents, and now who knows? It was probably
the bus
$1.
getting on a subway was 15 cents. I can remember. Do you remember 15 cents? Or how far do you go back? A bus.
Yeah, well, we used to take the bus in a White Plains, so it was
15 cents.
probably.
Yeah, I remember pizza 15 cents a slice.
Yeah,
but that kind of stuff.
Last night I went out to dinner at Morton's Steakhouse in Burbank, and I wasn't paying, of course, because I never pay. but
You're Frank Pace.
but that's not true. I pick up more than my share of tabs. But last night we weren't paying. I believe the dinner tab must have cost $600. That's crazy to me.
But that is a steakhouse, and it's a pretty exclusive steakhouse.
I don't care. It's $600 freaking dollars. I mean, how can anybody pay $600 for it?
Well, I give you, for instance, and this blew my mind. I mean, I'm delighted that my daughter told me this story, but when I was a kid, my mother insisted that we went to Catholic high school, right? Me and my brother. And to go to Mount St. Michael, which was the name of the high school that I went to at the time in New York, it was $30 a month, which was a lot of money. Because it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but between me and my brother, it's $60 a month. Her rent at the time was $80 a month. $80 a month for the rent. You couldn't live in a doghouse today for $80 or $500 for that matter. Where would you live any place?
No, you talk about cost of living and how expensive it is to live in California. Everybody, my daughter recently sold her house, her 1,000 square foot house, for $1.1 million.
Whoa! How many square feet?
1,100 square feet, and it was 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. It was $1,060,000. So it was.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Where is it located?
In Glendale.
Wow.
It's a nothing house, but those are the prices that the houses are going for in this area. Recently in Jacksonville, Florida, they listed the top 10 prices, top 10 real estate sales in Jacksonville, Florida. Number 10 was $1.8 million. And that couldn't even buy you a 3-bedroom house here.
Check out the screen here. For you guys know who this guy is right here?
Salt Bay?
Yeah, you know who the Salt Bay is?
No.
Salt Bay is a guy who he's got a ponytail and he does the salt off of his elbow onto the steak. You never seen that?
No. Is he lighting the loafers?
He's a Turkish guy. He's got a bunch
he's not lighting the loafers. He's from Turkey. So he just does the salt from here.
Anyway, going back to Frank's statement.
37,000 pounds.
Pounds,
not dollars, pounds.
That's for one dinner.
That's like
$50,000 for a dinner.
You're crazy.
That's out of his, yeah.
And that shows that common man can't go out to dinner. I mean, that they got to eat their dinners at the what was that Italian place that we're talking to Tony O about? Tony O.
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
Oh, the Olive Garden. I would eat there if you paid me.
Yeah. Well, I would. My good friends at the Olive Garden, Derek's good friends.
Forget about that joint.
I would eat the Olive Garden's food many times. You could sue Billy O'Connor.
Billy O'Connor, you could sue me for all that work. Good luck to you.
I think
there's an old Irish saying you can't get blood out of a turnip. Yeah. So God bless you if you can find any money on me. You can sue me for what you're worth. The Olive Garden, get out of here with that joint. But so imagine that 37,000 pounds.
It's incredible.
That's crazy.
It's incredible. I mean, the disparity in incomes between the 1% and the lower 25% is.
They say it's higher now than at any time outside of the Gilded Age. The disparity.
Probably. Probably.
But I don't know if I could. I went to. You were talking about the steakhouse Morton's. I had a hook at Smith & Wollensky's, S&W's. And S&W is another famous steakhouse in New York, as you well know.
Sure.
Are they out in L.A. too?
No, Smith & Wollensky is only in New York, I think.
Well, there's one in Vegas.
Okay.
And then I went to the one in Vegas because my girlfriend knew a waitress, about a long story short. But I don't know if you noticed, but I had a restaurant. And when people go to order a bottle of wine with their dinner, 99.9% of the people don't know a good wine from a bad wine. So what they do is they look at the wine list, they look at the cheapest wine, they look at the most expensive wine, and then they order one in the middle.
Right.
And that's the way 90% of people order wine. Well, I was at Smith & Wollensky's, and it was on the arm. She told me to come back at 9:30.
Right.
And the cheapest bottle of wine was $300, and the most expensive was $1,800. So you pick a bottle in the middle, it was like $900. No, I ain't ordering a $900 bottle of wine, but it was on the I said, yeah, okay, well, is this out? And she goes, no, you have whatever you want. All right. Well, the bill for two of us, of course, I knew it was on the arm. We rang up like a $2,200 bill. I was like,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
and
crazy.
That's 10 years ago.
And that's not the best meal you ever had in your life.
No, not at all.
Best meal you ever had in your life was probably a boiled potato and a hot soup.
And a six-pack.
A six-pack. All right, let's go to Constance Marie.
You want to Constance Marie? Okay. You had enough bullshit with me. You had enough. Huh?
We've had enough.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to this interview. Be fun.
There you are. How are you, my darling? What have we known each other now? 25 years?
Oh, God, I don't know. It seems like yesterday and like so long ago.
Can you believe how fast time goes?
Yeah, it's interesting, especially time is a little confusing because in syndication, George Lopez blew up like crazy.
I know, didn't it?
Yeah, it was new to everybody. Even though we were canceled, it was new to them. And we've had established a fan base that was just even bigger than it was before.
So you guys actually did more in syndication than you did when you were originally on?
No, we did 120 episodes, but then they aired on Nickelodeon, and
Yes.
they aired on another station also. And then everybody who didn't see it discovered the show. So it got bigger in syndication than it was ever in first run. But it was really big in first run.
You got 5 years. You guys have a 5-year run?
We have 6, actually, if you count the first year.
Uh-huh.
But I can tell you, you look the same. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
I mean, we could go back and make a new George Lopez, but George would not look the same. You look the same.
I always warned him to wear his sunblock. He never.
That's a secret. I'm going to start drinking this stuff.
Yeah. So we go back to For Your Love.
Oh yeah.
You were Samantha in For Your Love. Is that correct?
Yes. Holly Robinson Pete actually just posted some clips of it that I hadn't seen before, and it was so crazy. My hair was like this short.
And yeah, I mean, I don't recognize some shows that I've produced. But I mean, I've produced like 700 episodes of shows, and you've been in numerous hundreds of episodes of series. Did you ever get one where you watched it and you wonder what's going to happen? And you were there, but you wonder what's going to happen?
Actually, I saw a clip. Somebody posted a clip of a movie I did called Tortilla Soup. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene with Elizabeth Pena and myself in a hair salon. And I don't remember shooting that scene. I have no idea what the dialogue is. It's just so crazy that my daughter's watching and she goes, wow, I didn't know your hair was that short. And I was like, sweetie, I don't even remember shooting that.
It's crazy what your mind does.
Yeah, Tortilla Soup. Now that's with Raquel Welch, correct? Raquel Welch was in that?
Yeah, she played my mother.
I got to ask you a question. I met her once really briefly. I was tending bar and she walked into the bar that I was working in, and she was as sweet could be. Is she like that in real life? She very sweet lady?
Yes. It's very interesting. She's very Raquel. I just want you to know at 5:00 in the morning when it's dark outside, when she arrives on set, she is done and ready to go. And I remember I was blessed to work with Sonia Braga and Raquel Welch in another series. She played my aunt in this series. And they were just these aging beauties. And they were just such hard workers. I was just so in awe of them.
Yeah, well, you made your career on playing mothers.
Yes.
Going back to the beginning, you played the mother in Selena. And then you played the mother in George Lopez. And now you're still playing the mother in your new show With Love that premieres on Amazon on December the 17th.
That's right. It's so funny. I have another Amazon show called Undone. And I don't know when that one's coming out. But somebody was interviewing the executive producer. Kate Purdy. And they said to her, wow, it's so wonderful that you cast Constance Marie in this show because she's like our Florence Henderson for the Latino community. And I was like, that is like the greatest compliment that I have ever heard. Like, I mean, I've made it. If I'm the Florence Henderson of the Latinx community,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. You have been a trailblazer for Latin actresses. Do you agree?
Not good, yeah. I would say that I am very blessed to have been able to play some pretty iconic roles in some very influential projects that have moved the ball forward for us Latinx people as far as representation is concerned.
How old were you when you did Selena? 27? 26?
Oh, I think so. I think, no, I was 30.
So you were only 3 years older than Jennifer Lopez, and you were playing a mother.
I actually tested to play Selena, and I didn't get the role, but I had worked with the director Gregory Nava before on another movie called My Family, Mi Familia, and where Jennifer Lopez actually played my mother, but in flashback.
Hollywood!
She got to be young. And he was really sweet. He called me into the office and he said, look, you didn't get the role of Selena, but would you be interested in playing the role of the mother? And I was shocked because I knew that I wasn't old enough to play it, but I thought, you know what? My rent is still due, and let me see if I could try it. You know, and they hired an aging crew to age me because we had done it in the movie My Family, Mi Familia, and they did all these tests where I'm cuddling Jennifer and I have this short old wig on and this, 1980s Texas older woman makeup on, and it worked. It worked.
I got to ask you, when you say aging crew, because as a layman, how many people did it take to make you look as only 3 years older than Jennifer, to make you look like her mother? What does it do? How many people were there involved?
It was a 2.5 hour process. Well, 3 if you count the wardrobe, where there was a crew of 3 people that would lay hot latex in about 40 places on my face and my neck. And they would basically stretch your skin. One person would stretch the skin. One person would be dabbing this latex, and the other person was blow drying it so it would dry instantly. Wow. And they would let it go, and it would wrinkle up, like how your face is going to wrinkle as gravity pulls you. So that was, it was so claustrophobic and so time consuming. But on the movie, I got to the point where I could just sleep through it, because I was so tired and so used to just everybody in my face. And then I had all these lace front wigs. They actually took locks of Selena's mother's hair to recreate her hairstyles and the wigs. And yeah, I was there, but I was there before everybody. There was a separate crafty and separate catering truck just for the crew for aging when I would start in the morning. And by the time, Jennifer and Jacob and all the other actors showed up, I felt like I was way older than them.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because as an actress, how do you think that movie and that experience of the makeup and everything advanced your acting ability and advanced your career, because you were exposed to so much of it at a young age? What was the positive effect of that?
Well, for that movie in particular, it was, the greatest thing about being an actor is that you're always pushing yourself, if you're trying to do different things. And in that pushing and trying to grow and expand, I wasn't sure that I could play this role. You want it, you need to work, you love the quality of the piece. But, even I was like, okay, how am I going to play her mother? And we're this close in age. And I really had to do some soul searching and think about the character. And I thought about it. And this was even before I was a mother myself. But no matter how old your child is, be they taller than you or full grown people with their own children, grandchildren, they're still your baby. And when I thought about it from that standpoint, I thought, oh, I could do this. If I just don't see her as, this giant, mature woman who's actually a little bit taller than I am. If I use my imagination and if I do all that I know how to do as an actor, I can make this work. And for the most part, like I did, I came in earlier than everybody. It was rare that I would play young and old in the same day. It did happen, but there was only one time on the bus when we were shooting a scene where I had played young and Jennifer and all the other actors came in for rehearsal and I was still young. I hadn't gone through the aging process yet. And we were on this bus and there was a mirror on the bus door, in the compartment we were in, and it had swung closed. And I was looking at myself young and Jennifer young. And I was like, no, I can't see me as me. I need that, open that door or cover that mirror because I'm in a completely different place. And only finishing that project did I realize, oh yeah, I could do it. It's like every day challenging yourself and it's one step at a time. So that was like, to answer your question, Frank, it was a great acting muscle building show.
that you would normally not have at 30 years old. You would, you got an experience that you would probably need 10 years of acting to be able to advance your career that much.
Yeah.
So then came George. Why don't you tell me a little about the audition process for you for George?
It was horrible. Especially since George and I and Anne,
Anne Lopez was his wife at the time.
Somehow there was some meeting at Dick Clark Productions forever ago, and they got us in the room. I think I had come off a sitcom that I had done or something, and they said, let's get you and this comedian together in this room, because I had never met them. I mean, I guess I had met Anne on an Energizer battery commercial, but I didn't know who George was. I just knew her.
And George was working in radio at the time in L.A.
Right.
He was a morning disc jockey in L.A.
Now, Anne was
Anne's his wife.
Anne was in the business too?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was a casting person, but she also was an actress sometimes. And so we did this Energizer Bunny commercial together. And I guess that's how somehow I got in the loop. I don't even know, but they had this meeting at Dick Clark Productions and they wanted me to go in and have a chemistry meeting with George. And we kind of improv'd, and I thought, okay, well, this could be something, we have a repartee, this could work. And then as Hollywood does, I didn't hear one word back from anybody. Like it just disappeared. And then cut to like 8 years later, because I was almost 40, I got an audition to read for the George Lopez show. And I thought, oh yeah, that's the guy. We were in the room together. Okay, sure, I'll try this. And I went like 1, 2, 3 times. And then on the third time, they're like, nah, this is not going to go any further for you. Thank you so much. And I thought, okay, fine. And I was shooting another TV series at the same time. And they had to shoot me out every time I had to go to audition for a George Lopez show. So after the third time, you kind of, you wrap your brain around it as an actor and you think, all right, I'll just go back to my other gig or try to find something else. And then like a week goes by and they say, would you come in again and audition? Now I secretly, and I never think this, thought like I would be perfect for this. Like George and I, we do have chemistry and this just seems like a role that really resonates with me. So I thought, sure, I'll check my ego at the door. You already told me no, and you're not interested in me before. So, okay, I'll go. I go again. I go 2 more times. And they say, you know what? It's not going to go any further for you. And I think, okay, great. Fine.
Wow.
And then I go back to my regular job. I work. They call me again and say, would you be interested in testing for the show? I was like, I go from 2 rejections to you want to test for it? Sure. I dare you to not give me this job. You keep calling me in. So I go, and when you test, you have to fill out a contract for like 7 years or whatever. So you negotiate everything up front. I go in, and there's one other actress there. And so I know it's not just me. So I go, and it went really well. And then they said, they call me later and they go, well, thank you so much for coming back in, but it's not going to go any further for you. And I think, damn it. You know what? It doesn't feel like it's over, but whatever, fine. You guys are all over the map. I don't care. So I went back to my other job. They call me again 3 days later. Would you come in and screen test on the set? And I'm like, well, you know what? Seriously, this is my job. I dare you to not give it to me. So I said, sure, I'll go. And of course, the other show is hating it because I auditioned 7 times for the George Lopez show, and they had to shoot me out every single time to make sure that I made it.
The other show was American Family at the time?
Yes, American Family was on PBS with Raquel Welch.
Right.
So this time I think we shot on the Drew Carey stage. And it's full hair, full makeup. Like, I was shocked. It was like we were shooting a show. And everyone was so nice to me. Like, they were so happy that I was there. And I didn't know anybody. And I thought, wow, that other person must have tanked really bad. They're being so nice to me. So I go, I do hair, I do makeup, and I'm doing this scene with George. Now, I have done these same scenes so many times and been rejected so many times. I got laughs, but still it didn't go any further. And the weirdest, most surreal part was I do the scene with George. And in one of the scenes, I had to like call off screen to our daughter. And so I call off screen, and an actress actually comes down that I didn't even know was there in the shot. See her. I never even met her, Marciela. I never even met her. And I was like, oh, I'll just keep going. So I kept going. And it went pretty well. And there was, I think after we shot, there was like a meeting of all the writers. And they gave me another alternative joke to do. And so we started again. I did the alternative joke, and I got the laugh. And George and I were sitting on the sofa, and he just looks at me at the end when they yelled cut. And he said, that joke right there got you this job.
Whoa.
And I said, really? I go, how do you know? Because, I've already been through so many rejections. He goes, I'm George Lopez.
Even then he knew he was George Lopez. Even then he knew he was George Lopez.
Yeah. So, and the rest is, television history.
Well, an interesting story about that, it was because they picked us up for 6, and we were going to premiere in March 2001 or so. And Bruce Helford, the executive producer, didn't want to do 6. He had just come off the Drew Carey show, and he was tired, and he didn't want to do 6. And we were meeting in Peter Roth's office. There was me, Peter Roth, Bruce, Sandra Bullock, who was an executive producer, Robert Borden, who was executive producer. And we were arguing whether we wanted to do 0 or 6, or whether we wanted to take a show and premiere in September,
Which is the
big premiere date.
best time to premiere.
And we were sort of at an impasse because I wanted to do 6, Peter Roth wanted to do 6, Sandy wanted to do 6, George wanted to do 6, but Bruce Helford and Robert Borden wanted to do 0. So I handed Peter Roth a note during that meeting, and I said, is it easier to get a show on the air or keep a show on the air? And he said, I'm reminded it's easier to keep a show on the air than get a show on the air. So if we want to be on in September, it's be better if we
Shoot the 6.
do the 6. We compromised and we did 4 that first year.
Wow. And
then we did.
The rest was television history.
And then the rest was television history. Yep.
Well, the best part was, I was like, wait, what? We're shooting the first show, and then 3 weeks later we're picked up and we're going to do more, because I didn't understand the structure of how you guys were going to do it. But the best part was that every year that we got picked up for the first 2 years, and correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, we had to keep adding. So we had like a 26 episode season instead of 22, so we could get more episodes, so we would have a full season.
Yep.
So that short one was added to every year.
Yep.
That was awesome for your work.
It was awesome when we got a 2-year pickup too, because then we could go off the air and we enjoy our summer. I mean, because we're always, always basically on pins and needles till you get a pickup.
Right.
And then you can't relax because you got to go right back to work. So you're on pins and needles till you get a pickup, and then you can't relax because you have to go right back to work. So when we got a 2-year or a 3-year pickup right in the beginning of the season,
we're off the hook.
We're off the hook for
the pressure.
For a while.
All the pressure was off. I got one question that confuses me a little bit just in the slight interview. You had met George Lopez 8 years previous?
Yeah.
But how come, was it the same project that took the 8 years?
No.
It was a different project. Okay.
Different project.
I see. I understand that. I was just wondering how long it took for the...
What surprised you most about George as an actor? The actor he was at the beginning and the actor he became.
What surprised me was how fast he learned. I mean, all the other actors, other than the children, we'd all done tons of shows. We've been doing it for, a very long time. And the only person who hadn't was George. And, he came from stand-up, which has its own muscles, its own performance muscles in his skill set that he had. And I was just fascinating on, it's the shows with his name, and then now knowing that he only had, 19% kidney function that first year. And he didn't have any experience, how fast he was learning and how hard he was willing to work. And he had bad habits and he was willing, like the eyes, he was willing to get rid of them and have, work hard on them, and they went away. And
why don't you tell the audience about the eyes?
So George, doing his stand-up, he, would emphasize some of his jokes by like opening his eyes very wide.
Bug eyes.
Yeah. And he would, that would kind of almost be like the period at the end of the sentence of the joke or the exclamation point. And when we were doing the sitcom, he was still doing it at the end of every joke. And it was kind of pulling you out of the reality of this family. It was a holdover from stand-up. And so I think there was actually somebody whose job was to make sure that he didn't do it. And I would see them giving him notes and he was like, yeah, okay. I mean, he was just so into it and so wanting to do a really good job that he was willing to, take in information and learn really fast. And that fascinated me because my education didn't come that quickly, but he's a fast learner, hard worker and a fast learner.
And unlike a lot of actors who I've worked with, George worked just as hard on the first episode as 120. He always came with a script prepared, script read, notes in his script, things he wanted to do. And he actually even directed an episode just to prove he could do it.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing. How about your relationship with Belita Moreno? What was she like?
Well, I didn't know anything of Belita, and apparently she was in retirement.
And she played the mother.
Yeah,
she played George's mom.
George's mother. She was pretty brilliant in as far as what she could do with that character, because that character could be in the wrong hands, could have been, could have sank it, because nobody wants to watch somebody be mean and insulting and really harsh to the lead of the show. And I know some of the other actresses that auditioned for it. And I think because Belita is so small and she has this sweet face and unassuming and the skill to be able to like slice you with a line and do it kind of innocently, she was the perfect person for this role. And I'm so glad she came out of retirement for all of us.
Yeah, because Belita was not very old. And Belita was based on George's grandmother in real life. And George's grandmother would smack him, and she would, George would say, I want to go to Chuck E. Cheese, Grandma. And she says, Chuck E. Cheese, move the refrigerator. I'll show you a rat, move the refrigerator. Yeah. That's the kind of grandmother. Old school. Yeah, very loving, but tough. And Belita struck that chord terrifically.
And they started aging her in the beginning because she wasn't old enough to play it. And then after a while, they were like, this is not adding any value to this. She just is iconically this character. And, you know, the older wigs and the older school clothes, that sells it enough.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your favorite episode of Lopez?
Oh, Frank, part of me knew you were going to ask this. and I was going to go through my repertoire, and it's so hard because there's so many. And you know what's so funny is because when it was on, I mean, it was on all the time, and all my friends, they'd be in hotels because it's on TBS and NBC Peacock, and they would send me screenshots of me on the George Lopez show. They'd be like, here I am in, you know, Bali and you're on TV, and here I am in New York and you're on, I turn on the TV and you're always on. And that made me very happy. Because finally the show that I would, you know, because for me, I can trace my family's roots in America all the way back to 1850. So technically I'm an original American, my family on my mom's side. And when I was growing up, there was no representation of assimilated Latinos, just regular people like my family. Mm-hmm. Everybody on a show would be a recent immigrant or somebody who is, you know, a gang member or a drug dealer or a maid who didn't speak English very well. And I didn't grow up with great representation on TV, something to aspire to, until I learned that Linda Carter was half Mexican. And I was like, oh yeah, I can relate to her. She's like my mom. She has a good car, good job, no accent. And she also has superhuman powers that didn't hurt, that she was a superhero. So George Lopez ended up being the show that I could be on. And for the first time in television history, in English, a Latin show to make it over 13 episodes in 75 years of television.
Wow. I had no idea it was that groundbreaking.
Yeah, well, with the exception of, with an entirely Latino cast. Of course, I Love Lucy starred Desi Arnaz,
yes.
But there was a huge gap between Desi Arnaz and Freddie Prinze.
And Freddie Prinze only got 2 years.
Yeah.
So we were the very first ones. There's Que Pasa USA that did it in Spanish, but that was in Spanish. You know, we weren't part of the American fabric. And when you think about Desi Arnaz, he was like, oh, he's the guy from Cuba. We were just Americans.
Right.
So that had never been done before. Right. And so it's the show I wish I had on TV when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I could see myself reflected or my culture reflected in a way that related to me.
Well,
but back to your question, my favorite episode, if I have to pick one, is the one where George and I battle to see who can spend less money, where we eat the cat food.
Pretty funny.
I guess it's better than eating the cat.
Pretty funny.
Well, we don't even have a cat anymore. That's how old it is. He found it in the back of the closet in the pantry and is testing me to see if I will eat it to save money.
That's pretty funny. I know my favorite moment with you and George was at one time you were arguing about something in Louis' school, and he said, "You know what your problem is, Angie? You have know-it-all-itis."
That's right.
And you said, "George." She said, "George, there is no thing as know-it-all-itis." And he said, "Well, you would know." I thought that I was afraid that my wife was going to think I went to work and I told them that story about me and her, because it was so right on with you guys.
Right.
It was terrific.
That's remarkable that you're talking about when she was growing up. Constance, you didn't have that Latin show to watch. You know, we were just talking about that earlier. That we were talking about early sitcoms, how different it was from my real life that I used to watch in the 50s. And Frank had said, well, Derek wouldn't know about that because he didn't have any of that, you know, that cultural difference, you know. But you started, you were like 19, you went to Japan? How did that come about?
I was 18 years old and I went to, God, I hope my daughter doesn't do stuff like this. You know, because I was a street dancer. I grew up dancing, on cardboard, passing a hat for change in Venice Beach, and going around, all these contests. There used to be dance contests in the 80s, and I would win. So we'd go to Orange County, anywhere we could, to be in a contest, win, and that's how I would make money, extra money, when I wasn't waitressing in the 50s diner. So that's how I started. And that, there was no internet then. And my family didn't have much money. I've been working since I was 13 and a half, and to pay for my books and stuff for school. And once I got out of America and I went to Japan, I was like, whoa, it's like a big world. And I got to perform in something called Cosmopolis, which was Ryuichi Sakamoto and Takeo Kikuchi, which is like, I would say Ralph Lauren and David Bowie of Japan. They got together and made this great big thing, and I met like 200 models from over the world, and it was this performance art that I didn't even understand. I just had my little breakdancing part in it with the 5 people that came from LA, and they called us the #1 breakdancing crew. And when they said that, I was like, I watched the news, and that's the only part I understood, and I went, we're not #1. We're just a bunch of people. But that's what they thought.
Oh, you're #1.
We were #1. And so once I did that, I realized, the world is a big place. And my art, my craft, my dance, whatever I got can kind of be a passport to go check out the world. And so that was how I started, was dance, because I was so painfully shy. I could never speak in public because I failed drama in high school because I was too shy. So I started as a dancer.
But painfully shy as a dancer. Next thing, you're on tour with David Bowie, and you're in front of 20,000 people in arenas. That must have been frightening.
20,000. We performed in front of 80,000 people. We performed at Slane Castle in Ireland, and there was like this sheep's field place that we performed, and I just had never seen that many people from the point of view where they're all looking at us. It was just and David was super cool, and Peter Frampton, he was our lead guitar player, and, I met Princess Diana, I met Bono, I met all these. I went from this like tiny single apartment in a crack neighborhood in Hollywood in a 50s diner, and cleaning my Pinto carburetor every morning because it was a rundown car and all I could afford, to traveling around the world first class with David Bowie and Peter Frampton, meeting, royalty, literally royalty, and in a private jet, that had a bed and a shower. And I just thought, oh my God, I want more of this.
You're not yet 21 years old. This is amazing. This is an education.
I was 21.
21. Remarkable. I mean, that's an education in itself. That's better than 30 years at college. That's like, wow, there it is, the world. That's terrific.
It made me realize how little exposure, at least at that time, we had to other cultures and other countries in America. And they knew so much more about us than we knew about them. And that my perspective and our perspective really just depends on what you've been exposed to.
Yeah, and they could talk to us in our language, and we can't talk to them in their language. Because
I remember my girlfriend went into, I think it was like a Burger King on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and she starts ordering like food. And I don't know how I thought of this. I stopped for a second. I went, wait, hold on. And I looked at the guy who was taking the order, and I said, do you speak English? And he just looked at me and he said, thank you so much for asking. Yes, I do. And I thought, wow, they must be, first of all, Parisians are known for their persnickety French, but he just appreciated the consideration that we were in his country and to respect his language. But then also, there's got to be some resentment for the fact that he really actually does speak English and can accommodate. So it was very interesting. You just learned so much about other people.
And he probably spoke Spanish as well as English, and he was and French, and maybe even something else. Who knows?
But in the defense of America, because, you know, growing up without a lot of money, there's no way if you had asked me as a child or even as an 18-year-old before I got the chance is to go travel, if I was able to do that. And it's like, there's money and it's really far. Everything is an 8-hour flight away and it's so expensive. So in America, it takes a lot of resources to just get off out of our country. Whereas if you're in England or Spain or Ireland or anywhere, you can just get on a Eurail, buy a Eurail pass, and you can experience all these different things. So it's a lot easier for them.
Yep.
Yeah, the train system is remarkable in Europe. It's still terrific. Yeah.
So before we go too much further, why don't we talk about what's coming up on December 17th on Amazon Prime with love.
With love. It's
why don't you tell us about it?
Okay, so again, I mean, I am just super, super blessed because I've been able to be a part of some really iconic projects. I have the luck of, you know, I have some Scottish Irish in my background, so that luck must be paying off big time. It is Latinx people in a rom-com, in a winter, Christmas, holiday rom-com, which has not ever happened before. It's a series. We only have 5. Again, it's a 5-er. It's a family.
And what role do you play?
I play the mother.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
30 years later, you're still playing the mother.
I'm still playing with her. I'm gonna hold it together with like pins and needles and scotch tape and string until I go right to grandma, and I'm gonna let it all go, and I'll just rock it right to grandma. But it's basically a following one family, and it's every episode is a different holiday. So the first one is Christmas, then we've got New Year's, then we've got Valentine's Day, then we've got 4th of July, and then the last one is Dia de los Muertos, which is Halloween. And it's love in your 30s, in your 50s, and in your 70s. And it's so, you know, I feel like we've been through so much with COVID and everybody's divisive right now. And it's just, this is so feel good. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry because it's touching and heartfelt, but then it makes you laugh again. And it's a little bit sexy. There's some sexiness in it. Not me, my children. We're going to save the sexy scenes for them. But it is just really what I think we all need right now.
Well, we have a clip from that.
You do?
We do. Nancy gave us a clip, was so generous to give us a clip. So Derek, if you can roll it, you should be able to see it. It's coming on right now.
Okay.
As soon as we hit that little arrow.
Do you want me to do it?
See, this is a person who is about to work out.
I've heard rumors about this species.
Well, I just noticed some of my jeans were getting a little snug, so I thought I would get a jump on my New Year's resolution by joining a running club. Today is the first official meetup.
Oh.
It would be nice if you came.
Oh, swimming's not for me.
The dry cleaner would disagree. You never want to do anything. Don't you get tired of just watching crime shows?
I thought you liked our daily foray into the mind of a serial killer.
Forget it. I will improve my cardiovascular health on my own.
Proud of you. If you need me, I'll be right here, solving crimes. It's the husband! There's always a husband.
Very good.
Great.
That's Benito Martinez. He is brilliant. He's so funny. And he's from like The Shield and all these cop shows, and you never expect him to be funny, but he is hilarious.
Well,
so this is December 17th. It's premiering on Amazon 5
Prime.
hours with love.
Yes.
They're all going to drop at the same time, or are they going to drop?
They all drop at the same time.
So we can watch one of them. We can watch all of them within a 5-hour span.
Yes, it's so binge worthy, and it's so funny. As I played it for my nanny, and she was laughing and crying, and I didn't say anything while she was watching. I just showed her like a little bit of the pilot. And she looked at me and she said, you know, this show is going to touch a lot of people.
Oh, that's great.
It's going to be good for a lot of people's hearts right now. And I didn't lead her into that. She came up with that on her own. And I was like, so it's not just me. It touches her. It's gonna make a lot of people feel good, which is what we need right now.
And who plays your daughter?
Emerald Tobiah. She is super hot. Okay, like she's the one who's got the sexy scenes. Let me tell you, you're gonna want to see them. That's all I'll say. My daughter's super hot. You're gonna want to see, and she's adorable. Like, just like, you know, you ever see somebody who kind of the whole package, and when they do, they're just so likable and they sparkle no matter what they're doing. She's one of those. She's got it. She's got the magic.
And what else has she been in before? Have we seen her before?
Yeah, she was one of the co-leads. There was 2 female leads on a Freeform show called Shadow Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she was like futuristic and sexy, and she's just lovely. And man, she could drop a tear like nobody's business. We've got some really
The whole
touching,
package. Huh? She's got the whole deal going on.
really, really. And Mark Indelicato, who plays my son, is so funny. And you look at it, and Gloria Calderon-Kellett, she was one of the creators of the new reboot of One Day at a Time for Netflix
With
Norman Lear.
Norman Lear.
Yes. And she's brilliant. She can write scenes that will make you laugh, snort with laughter, and then drop a tear, and then snort with laughter again. And the transitions are so smooth. And she cast wonderful, wonderful actors. You're gonna love and know everybody.
Great. I look forward to it. I'm going to have it done before Christmas. It drops on the 17th. I'll probably watch 5 hours in a row.
Yeah,
will you tell me what you think, Frank? Will you text me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I know I'm going to love it. I do know I'm going to love it. So what's coming up in the future for Constance Marie?
Oh my God, I want to take a vacation.
Yeah, I think you deserve it.
Well, you know what's so funny is, I mean, I've been really blessed. Other than the major shutdown for COVID, I did my other show, Undone, for Amazon, and we could get the crew down to 8 people, including 2 actors and a COVID officer. That means like a total of 8 people, because it's shot in rotoscope and there's no sets. There's barely any props. It's just tape on the ground and green screen with a bunch of X's on the back. And, you know, your sound and your 2 camera operators, and that's it. And a COVID officer. So I worked periodically for that show. We would shoot 3 episodes at a time. And so I worked on that. I also shot a show called Connected for NBC, where my whole living room, we shot a whole show with everybody on Zoom.
Wow.
Well, I had never seen that before. And the entire series was everybody on Zoom in real time, dealing with COVID and lockdown and everything that we were dealing with. So that was also really wonderful. And then I shot with Love. So I'm really blessed, you know.
And speaking of blessed, you have a 12-year-old daughter. I understand. Is she there now?
No, oh. She's not here. But, you know, Frank, I was trying to get pregnant when I was doing George Lopez.
I remember.
And it took me 5.5 years to get pregnant. Like, what Latin woman who else can't get knocked up? It takes 5.5 years? What the? So I always joke that my daughter taught me patience before she even got here. So yeah, so she also is acting.
Oh.
Well, you know, that's remarkable. That I wanted to touch on that because I have 2 daughters, and I'm blessed. I have 2 grandchildren by one daughter, and my other daughter's 38 years old, and she's been trying for 5 years to get pregnant, and finally her and her husband decided on IVF.
Yes.
In vitro fertilization.
Yep, I know it well.
Yes, and I because of my daughter and me being obtuse, as most men are. I want to ask you a few questions about it. First of all, is it painful for a woman to have to go through the shots and the necessary what it takes for in vitro fertilization? Isn't there something about it? It's painful.
Yes, it's mentally, emotionally, and physically painful. It is one of the loneliest journeys that I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, it's because, and it's expensive too, and it's not covered by a lot of insurance. So there's a lot of out of pocket. Like, you got to want that baby really bad.
Right.
And there's the shots, because I actually, my ex used to have to come to set during some of our publicity shoots to give me my injections, because those injections need to happen at the time.
Are they in the stomach?
Yes.
They are.
Yes, and you can have somebody else give you the shots, but I did not trust him one little bit. I did those shots myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I was never a diabetic or around diabetics, but giving yourself a shot in the stomach is a surreal thing.
Yeah, you really have to want that baby bad, like you said. That's incredible. Now, is there any percentage of abnormality attached to this? Is there, like, once the baby's born? I'm asking this purely as an inquisitive father, like, worried about my daughter.
I don't. Well, just know that she will need to know that you're there for her, because her body is going to go from making 1 egg a month to, if she's really lucky, about 10 to 13.
Whoa.
The amount of hormonal impact on her body to create that many eggs is a lot. And so she's going to have ups and downs, because it wreaks havoc on your body. And then if she has to do, as in I had to do, is they have to get those eggs out. And that's a whole other surgery. And then there's the lab part of it. And then they're going to have to put those eggs back in. And that's kind of invasive as well. So it's a long journey. And I only believe, if I read my paperwork, which I tried not to read it because it would influence me, but I only had a 2% chance of having a baby.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I was 43 when I finally had my baby. And she is tall and smart and strong and beautiful. Wonderful. And healthy and smart, and just like taller than I am now. And she's only 12. Makes me mad.
Wow.
So you're something of an advocate in a way for this process, for IVF.
Yes. It's really interesting, is because when I went through it, I thought, this is like one of the loneliest journeys. And I know a lot of women, it was weird. It's kind of like this unspoken thing that people didn't talk about. And, like, there was this shame if a woman couldn't get pregnant. And, you've been at family gatherings where people are like, when are you going to get pregnant? What are you taking so long? And that happened to me several times after I had just had a miscarriage, or when I was struggling. And, like, there's a lot of people who don't know how difficult that journey can be nowadays. And I wanted to write a book, because there's also some ridiculously hilarious stuff that happens. Like one time, when we were doing IUI, which is where they get a male's sperm and they kind of they give it an assist in getting it there. And we had a sub doctor, and he just spilled everything all over the floor. But I didn't know, because, from my point of view, I couldn't see what was going on. And he's like, oh, some of it spilled, but I got a little bit of it. I'm not going to charge you for this.
Sounds like a clumsy soda.
And I'm like behind the curtain going, that does not sound good. I did not get up at 8 in the morning and come to the doctor in this position on a Sunday for you to drop things all over the floor. Oh. And then the nurse is the one who came back afterwards, and she goes, yeah, nothing got in there. There was nothing. Just go away. Come back next month, because it's not going to happen this month. So I wanted to write a book. I was like, there needs to be a book, a humorous book about this journey, so a woman can read it and just think, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only one who is having a hard time getting pregnant. There's no shame about it. It's just kind of the sign of the times that we're dealing with right now. And but people were not interested in hearing it. They didn't want to hear it. And so, I don't know. I haven't given up yet, but I think it's something that women need, or support groups or something.
Yeah. I think times have changed. That's exactly right. I think men are ready to hear about it now, for sure.
And now you're a vegetarian leaning toward vegan?
Yes. Yes. Well, you know that. You know.
I knew that, but
Well, it's so funny is because one of the things that you learn, a woman trying to figure out the magic formula for having a baby, is you realize how many toxins there are in our food, in our environment, that actually have fertility impact and make it harder for women. So I studied up, in my spare time, trying to get knocked up, figure it all out. And then, there's a lot of mercury in fish, which causes birth defects. And I ended up having 2 miscarriages, and that could have been a contributing factor. I wanted to eliminate everything that could be a contributing factor. So when my baby was born, I thought, well, I have all this information. And if I'm trying to keep myself green and clean and healthy and vegan, vegetarian, why don't I do this for my baby? And I always thought, if my kid is anemic or has iron deficiency or there's a problem, I will choke that chicken myself, break its neck, and fry it in a pan for my baby.
Wow.
And that would be a major departure for how I live my life, but I would do it. But, I tested my daughter, and I know how to feed, myself nutritionally to make sure I get all my nutrients. And so I did it for my daughter, and she's one fine specimen of human health. She rarely gets sick. I think she's vomited twice in her whole life. She's 12. You know what I mean? She's just super, super healthy.
And
working.
And she's a vegetarian also?
She's never had meat her entire life.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Plus global warming, climate change, animal factory farming really contributes to that, like even more than the auto industry, they say. The United Nations did a report a few years ago, and I thought, well, if being a vegan vegetarian can help the environment, well, then all the better.
Wow.
Yeah, cows, right? Supposedly bad for the environment. Cows.
Well, it's not only the methane from the cows, because methane particularly is really, really adept at trapping the gases. Just methane is really good at that, and that's what they produce. Plus the animal factory farming, the factories, shipping it everywhere, all that stuff. It's a big, big, complex contributor that if we could just lower it a little bit, it would help a lot.
Well, I got to admire you, not just as an actress, but you're an advocate for equal pay for women. I have two daughters and 2 granddaughters, one on the way, hopefully from IVF. And it's going to be a girl with everything being equal. Hopefully everything comes out fine. So obviously equal pay for women's a sensitive issue with me. I think by all means, you do the job, you get paid. This gender should have nothing to do with it. That's
I actually think that women do a better job in most things than
certainly in running the country. I could see that happening.
I believe that totally.
I do too.
I
do too, definitely.
We're good at multitasking. I feel like it comes back from, that whole equal pay thing. In the very beginning, women couldn't, have their own credit cards. They couldn't, own property on their own. They were mostly homemakers, right? So
vote.
And if you go that far back, yeah. So the men were the breadwinners. And yes, I guess later on some women did start to work. So I understand, let's say it started from the time when men were the breadwinners, and that's why they needed to be paid more because they had to take care of the whole family. Okay, fine. If that's the way it started, mazel tov. But we are so far from that now, it shouldn't even be an issue. I mean, just to make a decent life, every house is like a 2-income house for your average person. And oftentimes the woman is working just as much as the man. So why is her paycheck less? And she's contributing just as much. Why is her paycheck less? Those days are over. I mean, equal work, you should have equal pay no matter what your gender.
See, that's why you become the Latina Florence Henderson. and also the same thing that Diane Carroll did for the African American women. You've been a trailblazer.
Thank you.
It's terrific. As we close, Derek, do you have any questions?
I do have a couple questions along the line of what Frank spoke about. So obviously you look fantastic.
Thank you.
So,
vegetarian, sunblock.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
And Derek's actually, he sort of floats back and forth between vegetarianism and eating meat.
No, it's true. It's true.
Because we go out to lunch sometimes, and they say, "Do you want to go get some dirt?"
Yes. I've been vegan twice, 6 months each time, and it's a very appealing lifestyle. But I'm curious about how you manage. The first time I did it was about 12 years ago, and it's a different experience 12 years ago because there weren't as many products. Very, very, very difficult 12 years ago compared to now. So what's your regimen like? Like what sort of things do you eat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and then how do you manage that process?
Well, yeah, because you do have to have, I mean, I really think there needs to be like a book or an app or something for people to understand nutritional value for the food and what your basic needs are per day. You know, like how much iron do you need? How much protein do you need? How much fat do you need? And one of the great things that I was able to do was when I was working on George Lopez or American Family, I mean, that was a really hard time. So I couldn't cook. And Crafty and the catering truck were not catered to me. So I had to have my meals delivered. But what I did learn was portions and like the zone diet was something that I did for a very long time. And so so you know, like basically your hand, this is the amount of carbohydrates, this is the amount of protein, and this is the amount of fat that you have for every single meal for optimal burning. So when you're a vegan or vegetarian, you've got your veggie meats, you've got your legumes. I really think there needs to be a bean lobby, like somebody needs to lobby for kidney beans, garbanzo beans, lentils, because those are amazing. They're packed with vitamins and with iron. And so for breakfast, I would say I have the greatest egg alternative that I've ever found. It's called Just Egg. Okay. And they don't pay me. None of this is endorsement, but this is just what I do. So I'll have that with a bagel and vegan cream cheese, and I'll slap some fruit on the side. So there I've got my carbs in the bagel, and I've got the protein in the Just Egg, and then I've got fat in the cream cheese. So that's like breakfast. And then for lunch, you've got vegan. I tried to show George this on George Lopez when we were shooting, and it's the only thing that he liked. They have soy riso. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you scramble that, even if you scramble that with real eggs, but I scramble it with Just Egg, and that you put that in a burrito. That is one of the greatest breakfast burritos ever. And it's like the soy riso is like 3/4 less the cholesterol, half the fat. I mean, it's just so much better for you, but it tastes just as good. And there's so many alternatives. Like my meals are real simple. I'm not a big chef, but I know how to eat healthy and I know how to eat to survive. And I'm an actress. I have to be like, I'm in HD, so I can't eat that much. But when I do eat, it's got to pack a wallop. So I try to balance it. And there's a great brand, again, not paid endorsement. It's called Gardein. And it was created by a vegan chef. And they have veggie mandarin chicken. It's frozen and you just thaw it out. And it's just like, people go, oh, it's so processed. It's like, you don't even know what's in your chickens and the hormones and how they're raised.
That's true.
All that. It's awful. And, you know, I have soy milk, I have oat milk. And there was a decade or two there where they were talking about, oh, you can't eat too much soy. They were scaring men, saying they'll grow man breasts if they have too much soy.
Really?
I've grown them anyway.
and the funny thing is, I thought to myself, well, that is so illogical because, okay, let's just, for the sake of their argument, you eat so much soy milk, soy cheese, soy dairy of every kind, soy riso. And then if you eat that much all the time, there's a chance you could have too much estrogen and grow some man boobs. Okay, that's their logic. Which is worse? Eating the meat from the cow that is for sure injected with the hormones, so it grows 3 times faster and 3 times bigger than it's supposed to, and just take that meat and eat it directly with the hormones in it. Is that better?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, one is the risk of possibly an overabundance of hormones, and one is eating those hormones just from cow to mouth. That makes no sense.
Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, being Irish, of course, and my mother and father from the other side, me being born on the other side, going to school, occasionally my mother would make me a tongue sandwich, right, which was a cow's tongue, you know.
I remember that.
Yeah, and all the kids would go nuts, you know. How could you eat something that came out of a cow's mouth? I said, you ever have an egg? That doesn't bother you? So,
and
yeah.
what's interesting is I've been at this for so long that, you know, I've heard people say things like, you know, I don't know, there was a thing where they were like, in certain countries, they'll eat dogs, they'll eat cats, and everybody's so offended by it. And I'm like, well, what's the difference? You're eating a baby lamb. You're eating, it had a mother. If it had a mother, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Different cultures.
Just one more question too.
Yes.
If for aspiring actresses or actors, and specifically women, what would you recommend they do? Let's say someone that's around your daughter's age that's interested in becoming an actress. What do you think the best steps?
Besides talk them out of it.
I know. I wanted my daughter, I was like, sweetie, she wanted to be a dermatologist for a little while there. I was like, oh, that's good. That's really good, sweetie. You can invent sunscreen so mama can look good forever. And you can keep me young forever. And she was going down that train. And then she was like, oh, but I love COVID. I blame COVID. She discovered musical theater in COVID. She can find the bootleg of any Broadway show ever made on YouTube. And so that's kind of what transitioned her. But the thing I realized was, you know, this is all she knows. She's seen me be on TV shows and in series and everything since she was born. So I can't dissuade her. But what I can do is she better know her game. She better have all the skills that she's going to need. So, you know, everybody wants to, all the little kids, her friends wanted to be Disney kids or whatever. I'm like, no. You need to know you're going to be, first of all, a triple threat. You need to sing, you need to dance, and you need to act. Those are the basics because nowadays everybody can do everything. So if you can't, you're not getting the job. Second of all, you need to work your butt off. You need to know your scenes backwards and forwards. You need to have your character analysis. You need to know who that character is. You need to study your script backwards and forwards, script analysis. You need to do the work. And if you want to do the work, then you will have success. If you want success but aren't ready to do the work, nothing's going to happen for you. And even if by some miracle you have a great look and you're really lucky and you get these opportunities, it won't last.
Right. Well, I also tell kids when they're coming out of film school or wherever they're at, go to New York or go to Los Angeles. Don't try to make it in, well, now you can make it in Atlanta also. But don't try to make it in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and be the biggest in Fort Wayne, and then move up to Minneapolis and be the biggest in Minneapolis, because it's just as hard. So you might as well go where the work is and where you're going to hopefully end up, and compete against the best, because that's the only way you can get better.
Right. You have to be qualified.
Yep.
To do this job.
It wouldn't hurt to be 21 years old and 80,000 people in a sheep meadow on an island either. Yeah. That's not a bad thing to have in your resume.
You got any final questions?
No,
Billy?
Just a delight, though, to meet you, Constance. Really, thank you very much for coming on the show. You've been
thank you,
and thank you for alleviating the anxiety of an old man when his daughter's taking that journey that you took,
and for all the actresses and Latino actresses and Latinx actresses that you've been, I want to thank you for your being a trailblazer and being one of the first. It's truly amazing to have witnessed your success through all these years.
Thank you, Frank. That's so sweet. And you know what? I wish your daughter.
Go ahead, sorry.
I wish your daughter the best journey, and just know there is light at the end of the tunnel for her. And it's gonna be hard. Nobody ever goes, oh, IVF, it was so much fun. It's gonna be a journey, and just having a dad that cares so much, just even ask those questions, she's ahead of the game. You know, just to have
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate that. And thank you for trailblazing as well and being a spokeswoman, I should say. Thank you very much.
You be well and have a happy holiday season.
Have
Constance.
a great Christmas. Great
Bye.
Christmas.
Hey, bye, guys.
Oh, remember, before you forget, remember those great Christmas parties we used to have on Lopez? Oh, my gosh.
And the Christmas presents.
Yep.
We gave gifts for everything. We had birthday cakes. It's like that episode of Seinfeld.
Well, it was all Belita's. Belita was the queen of Christmas gifts and holiday gifts and everything. And we would have a Christmas tree, and we would have a Christmas party, and we would have lunches and dinner, and everybody, the whole. I've never experienced anything like it. Everybody from
on all the shows you were on, that was the best, without a doubt.
You know what?
It's the best.
If one more person in the world on social media says, when is the George Lopez reboot happening? They've rebooted every other show. What about George Lopez? And I just say, you know what? We're still waiting.
Well, George is back this fall. He's going to have his pilot with his daughter, Mayan Lopez. So I'm looking forward.
Lopez versus Lopez.
Lopez
right?
versus Lopez. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Well, thank you, Constance. You're a true delight. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and everything else to you as well.
Thank you. And everybody watch With Love, December 7th.
With love.
I'm going to watch it by December 24th. And I'll text
5
you.
episodes. 5 hour-long episodes.
17th.
No,
It's
yeah,
the 17th.
I know, but
He's going to be done by the
24th and send you a text.
Okay, awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank
You've
you.
been a great
Thank you
guest.
so much.
Bye.
What a pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you.
So,
Lovely girl. Lovely girl.
yeah, she is terrific. She's a real terrific gal.
Yeah, very nice. And I was really curious about that. I wasn't asking it just to push the show because obviously, I'm concerned. My daughter's going through it. And it's just a testament to how badly a woman could want a baby and be willing to go through that, and what a gift it is to have a child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, my daughter had our second grandchild, less than 2 weeks ago, and it's truly amazing.
It used to crack me up, guys that come into the firehouse and say, I'm going to wait 5 years, then I'm going to have 2 kids. I said, I'm listening, like taking notes. Yeah, you're going to wait 5 years, then have 2 kids. Like it's a matter of, that's not the way it works. It's a blessing. It's a gift.
It is a gift. It is a gift. And
Lucky
a
to
blessing. Speaking of gifts.
Yeah, what a great gift.
What do you think?
He's about to open the wallet, Billy.
Is he?
Yes.
No. I
think we're going to hawk books.
You thought he was going to give us a Christmas
yeah,
party?
I thought we were
No. Talk sense.
You guys have only been with me 73 episodes.
Talk sense.
What makes you think I was going to open my wallet?
Talk sense, Mike. Talk sense.
I want to open some other people's wallets.
We're trying to get a play here from our books, hoping somebody might lighten up and toss a few dollars our way. Yes, a great gift for the holidays, Frank. I don't know if you're aware of it, but reading is one of the truly great gifts you can give somebody.
What are you reading now, Billy?
What am I reading? I'm rereading a book called Combustible. It's the story of a wayward firefighter in a very busy firehouse who's lost his way, Frank. And it takes a cataclysmic event like 9/11 to sort of knock him back on path.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. You may have read it like a time or two.
I did read it a time or two, that's for sure.
You had a lot to do with the input as well.
Yeah.
And If These Lips Could Talk is quite a read. A friend of mine's semi-autobiography.
Semi-autobiography, right? And it was not a book that neither of us are biographical, but we wrote also Lamar's Gamble.
Lamar's Gamble, a really good book about corruption.
3 really good books.
Something I know something about, corruption.
Not to mention Confessions of a Bronx Bookie, based on.
Which led to Lamar's Gamble. Something ain't on the level here. But anyway, what a wonderful guest she was for the holidays.
Yes, she was.
Definitely have our audience look out on the 17th for With Love.
Yeah, and if you can't watch it on the 17th, you can watch it on the 18th, and or the 18th of January or the 18th of February.
Right. Everything's out there now. It's out there forever.
It's out there forever.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that's enough damage. We've done enough damage for the day.
We certainly have. Enjoy your holidays out there, folks. Have a great, great Christmas. And again, give the gift of reading. Why not?
Derek, thank you, my friend. You're a delight.
You guys are a delight. I mean, the delight of delights.
And you, sir, are full of stuff you don't find in the garage.
Your lack of sincerity is...
Your lack of sincerity
is amazing. All right, folks.
All right,
thanks.
folks. Thanks very much for tuning in. Appreciate it, as always.
Bye-bye.
Next week's guest, one of America's great comedians, Big Irish Jay Hollinsworth.
We'll see you next week.